Okay, welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast, episode 42. And I am your host, Supreme King, as always. And I am joined by my co-host. His name is...
It's the guy Omazis.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I saw the Dungeons and Dragons movie yesterday. Well, I guess before the recording 2 days ago.
Okay.
It was really good. I definitely suggest it for people. Like, go out and see it. It's a movie that definitely deserves like sequels or things like that. You don't have to be like a heavy Dungeons and Dragons fan. It actually might get you into the game. But like, you don't need to be a Dungeons and Dragons fan to understand what's going on. They write it very well. The humor is fantastic. One thing that was weird though, so this is what I want to talk to you about. At the start of the movie, like right before it started, they had the main cast like on the screen just kind of sitting next to each other, and it was Chris Pine talking, and he was just like, I just want to thank you all for watching this movie in theaters the way it was intended to be seen, and then a whole like speech about how it was like important to see it in theaters and how that was great, and you're like doing a service or something like that. I feel like maybe the theater community is getting hit real hard. Cause it was just awkward. Like it just started with that, and then the movie started.
Post 2020 till now, yeah. Well, you trying to be like political about it or something?
Not really. He was just like, thank you for like not watching it at home and like actually seeing it in the theaters and everything, like where it was intended to be, right? Where all of us can come together and watch it in the theater. You're
so
doing
what about great. Whoever buys the disc? Like whoever gets a Blu-ray or a DVD copy of it, and what about
we'll
them?
see if it's unless they're like, if you didn't see it in theaters, you suck, and then the movie starts. I don't know. If they record something separate, but
that's silly. So you have like 1 month to watch and then just literally never watch it ever again, ever.
I guess so, because you're supposed to see it in theater. But other than that, the movie was really good.
So they must just make more money. They make more money in theater than streaming, basically. That's what he's saying.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
So
a movie is considered how well it did based off of how much money it got in theaters.
I heard they used to call the DVD release the second release or something. Like
yeah.
For them, their second round of money that they would get before it just kind of dies back out completely.
Yeah.
And then
I think you know what?
It was Matt Damon or somebody who made that statement where it was like they can't really count that no more because not too many people buy DVDs like that, and then it goes straight into a $5 bin basically.
Yep.
I guess.
But that also, I just remembered the whole thing with Scarlett, where basically a lot of movies offer the actors to get paid in one of two ways: either a lump sum up front, or they get like a percentage of revenue, and if you can pick the percentage of revenue, there's a chance you won't get paid if the movie underperforms, because everybody got to get paid, and then if there's no revenue left, you just get nothing. And that's why Scarlett got hurt.
Widow.
Yeah, that's why she got hurt, because they released it in streaming, and that's the thing she signed up for. Because like for a Marvel movie, it makes sense. Everybody's about to go see it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, no, it's streaming, so now she's not gonna really get paid. Like, yeah.
That was a funny situation on paper.
Oh, yeah.
Just how mad she was and stuff. That was kind of funny. Because she kind of just burned bridges last minute. But it didn't matter anyway. It was just like, whatever. I don't know if she blackballed herself, though, but like in the industry.
I doubt it.
But,
I mean, it's sometimes difficult because of how much Disney owns, but I doubt it because I feel like she's a big enough star that like she's a draw, so like it'll be weird if companies were like, nah, we're not gonna use you because of that. Like I would be surprised if Disney still used her for stuff even with that. Like if they still wanted to offer her role.
She could do a Tubi movie. She can do
there we go.
She could do a bunch of them. She could do all them like shark films. They could do another Sharknado. She could show up in Sharknado.
Oh goodness. Tubi.
You know, she not really canceled, but speaking of canceled, shout out to E3. I think I want to talk about E3 for a second, because I had on paper, I had a couple topics on paper that was like written a certain way. Like at first I had E3, who is left, basically is what I said. Because initially I was going to be like, okay, the news was Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation wasn't going to be there. And then they said Ubisoft was one of the other ones that had pulled out. And then it was Tencent and Sega. Right? And it was
I didn't hear about the last two.
Yeah, that was. I think Tencent and Sega was like what really caused it to like them to just be like, listen, we just gonna have to just stop, because that news came out, and then like I want to say 48 to 72 hours later, that's when the E3 was canceled. News came out. The thing though that I was writing down, I was just going based off of what I've seen in the past, and it was pretty much the Future Game Show, which is something that's a little bit more for those indie games and stuff, and they just did a show. But they had a show at E3 before, and then the PC Game Show had a show there. And then there was a Gearbox show, and I believe Capcom, and then they had that little like indie diversity woke show. I don't even know what their official name was, but they had the show, and I was like, that was all I can come up with who was probably left. And I was going to just like say like, is that going to be enough? Is that going to be good enough for an E3 event? But then next thing you know, they were just like, no, we just canceling it, which is probably correct. That's probably the good thing that they were going to do. The thing about it though, is just like, who is E3 for was my overall question that I was going to ask anyway. Because
back in the day, it was like the Comic-Con of the video game industry. Like the whole big deal was like, man, one day I hope I can go. Like that was what I always pretty much heard growing up. It was Comic-Con was for the comic book nerds, and E3 was for the video game nerds. And it's crazy that it's like, it just, once like you could drop the trailers on YouTube, there's the Game Awards now and everything. It just kind of like everyone just kind of moved on.
That's kind of what I meant though, because I'm like, for the rest of us, for your average person, you was gonna watch it on TV anyway, and like not TV, watch it on YouTube anyway, and like it doesn't actually hurt. Like a couple of these players, like Nintendo was gonna have their own direct, regardless.
But I think that was the difference. They at the like past, you didn't hear about like just PlayStation having a week of shows that are just dropping stuff. I don't remember there being this many, and maybe I just didn't watch them, but I don't remember there being this many just like state of plays, like just happening. Where it's just like, hey, this week like we're dropping trailers for like stuff. Like I don't remember. I remember just like collectively any like new hardware or like big game releases and everything was all centered around being revealed at E3, and then you would get like the E3 version of the footage where somebody in the audience recorded and uploaded to YouTube, and then like a week later the actual trailer gets dropped for everybody else to see outside of E3. But it was like E3 was the time where all this stuff was announced, and I don't remember that many like big games, unless the game can hold its own, but like a medium to big game being announced outside of E3. And then it was just now that everybody pays attention to like pretty much Twitch streamers and the YouTube pages and social media way more than they do waiting for an event. And they're going to speculate and try to leak information anyways. These companies are just like, well, why should I pay to put my stuff at E3 and have to pay for staff to be there when I can just release it myself? Like now they're releasing it themselves. And
what's the average attendance in person over there
for E3?
Yeah.
I'll have to look up the numbers, but I imagine in the past it was very large.
Like yeah, but even like very large, isn't that still relatively like 1 to maybe 2,000? Isn't it something like that?
It says
it'd be more than that.
So E3 2010, I just went back to one, had 45,600 people.
45,000 people was in there?
Yeah.
You mean 4,500? There's no way it was 45,000. That's a WrestleMania arena.
Yeah, 45,600 total attendees.
I need to
A
see the
total of
video footage
approximately
of that.
300 exhibitors and 45,600 attendees from 90 different countries visited the recently concluded E3 2010 event in Los Angeles.
How?
These were big events. It was basically rent out the stadium, and then they would just have different like places where like you could walk up to, and some people could test stuff, and you could watch people like play the game, and then you move over to a different booth, and everything was just happening all at once. It wasn't like sit down and watch, sit down and watch. It was just like, hey, right now Nintendo's doing a show, the Diversity Group is doing a show, and they're showing off like the Oculus VR show, and you just got to run to the right one that you want to go to, like a convention, basically.
Yeah.
So it's just like there's 10 events going on simultaneously each time, and you just got to pick a line, pick a room, and go see it. But these things were, like I said, it was big. Like, these are stadium size. That was the whole dream. It was just like go to E3, they would make a lot of money. But that was 2010. Let's jump ahead. 2019.
I mean, because my whole issue with E3
2019 had 66,000.
I don't believe these numbers, bro. Because whenever I looked at them videos, it would look like an award show in a way, but it wouldn't be that.
In certain areas.
Because part of it for me was just like, whenever I would hear stories of people trying to get there in the past, I used to hear things like they were getting turned away at certain things. They couldn't go to certain things. And I'm like, you pay money.
So 2008 was the bad one. 2008 had 5,000 attendees.
That makes more sense to me for all of them, because I don't see how you can.
So those are when they were in Santa Monica, California. Those are the 2007 had 10,000, 2008 had 5,000. Those are the ones where it was like, you got to be like, somebody who's somebody to go, right? But then 2009 is when they really looked like they were trying to reopen to the public. So they had 41,000. In 2004, they had 65,000. 2019, 66,000. And then 2020 didn't happen. 2021, digital only. Okay. And then...
Because I was just like... Because for me, whenever I saw footage, the most recent footage I could really think of was when Keanu Reeves jumped on stage when they first was showing off... well, it wasn't the first time, but when they showed off... Cyberpunk, at the end of it, he came on stage and was like, hey, everybody. Like, it didn't look like it was that many people there. Well, maybe it was, but...
Well, what I'm saying is, again, keep in mind that him walking on stage to advertise for the Cyberpunk thing was one of about 15, 20 events happening simultaneously. Right? So it's just the people who were in that room. They didn't bring everybody in to see that one. And I don't know if you ever, like, I've been to a few conventions. No, man, if you have been, and I'm over here just explaining how it works. But, like, for a lot of the convention stuff...
We all know you a celebrity, but go ahead.
So I'm actually going to a convention.
Yeah, so you got another one.
Like, next month. But I'm not a featured person. I'm just going.
You going private jet?
For the convention, you could, like, see like a little list, and it's, like, at 12:30, here's the, like... 10 like events that are happening, and then you could just be around and about in the like location, and then there's also a little merchant like area where it's just a bunch of little booths where you can buy stuff, and people are just like eating food, doing that, and then like out of all the events that are going on, you walk in, if the line's too long, sorry, you're probably not getting in, go find something else to do, because you should have been one of the first ones in line. So like the rooms will fit a certain amount of people. And it's like, well, there you go. That's all that could go in. And I remember I got into one event where the room only held like 35 people at one of the recent conventions I went to. But then one of the other ones I wanted to go to where the line was too long, it was like a big like auditorium room that could hold like 200. And they were like, there's too many people. Like, can't let you in.
Let me stop you right there. That was the one thing that I always had an issue with when I heard about E3 events. It was just like, don't tell me like I either caught a plane or I drove a long distance or something. You took off work. You bought way more money with you than you probably should. to the point where now you've probably got to pick up overtime when you coming back. You got to catch up on bills when you coming back, and you did all of this to go down to this place to get turned away at the door at certain areas. You know what I'm saying? That was the thing that I didn't like.
Yes, but that was the issue with that many people there. It's like, look, it's a fire hazard. This like little stadium room that they built off can hold 5,000 people, and 6,000 people are trying to go see it. Well, sorry to 1,000 of you, go see something else.
Yes,
that's happening right now. But yeah, so like with Keanu walking on the stage with the Cyberpunk, not everybody was there, so you can imagine people who were like, "I only got a PlayStation," right? Or no, because what was Cyberpunk? That was on everything. It was just some people just didn't get to go.
It was on the Xbox stage though. It was presented by Xbox though.
Because it was presented by Xbox, all the PlayStation people missed it. They probably didn't go to that show because it's like, I don't have an Xbox. What do I care? So they went to some PlayStation thing instead. That was probably happening exactly at the same time. So yeah, that's how those go. So even when they did the like E3 certain things where they would show it online, and you can watch certain video presentations, even though while it was happening live, it still wasn't everything. Because you got to keep in mind, some of these convention too, it's not even just like important stuff. Like it'll straight up be like one of the events is like Mario 64 speedrun. So like while PlayStation is out here like announcing the next few games that are coming out, some other people are watching a speedrun like off to the side, like it's somewhere else. So that's what these conventions are. They take up a whole thing.
Well, I appreciate the YouTube format because I'm gonna tell you what I did last E3. For more than one day, like the weekend days mainly, I sat back with a whole like seafood spread of crab legs and like a seafood boil basically, and just sat back and watched. It was like one day I did that, one day I had like pizza and wings or something, and I was just watching like the stuff that happened during the day and stuff. You know, obviously I caught the replay afterwards, but I remember complaining that it was too much going on at one time, but I was able to still, you know, save list this and come back to it. And I think that's better for the people because there's no way I'm going down there and now I've got to choose, and I've missed like 2/3 of stuff because I went to one thing and I can't be in more than one place at a time. But in recent years, it also seems kind of crazy for me if I'm going down here to go see broken games. Like I have to go there a little bit.
That's another thing. But there's that too.
The thing for anybody who's probably maybe in person, you can't really go if you was really wanting to go. But other than that, some of these other companies, obviously they're gonna still have their own show if they want to have it. Future Game Show is already creating their own platform, so they can start having this more often. Like I said, they had just got done with one. The Xbox one, I think there was supposed to be that they were calling it the Starfield show. They had already previously announced, and then we already know, like with Nintendo, they'll be like, "Hey, we got a show tomorrow," and then the show is tomorrow, basically, or in 2 days. So it's not like they're gonna be missing. Like the biggest players is you know, Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation. They already have their own thing where they do it periodically anyway. But as far as you want a big show during the summer and then one towards the end, you still have Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley did not announce that he was stopping anything. And his big show usually is like the week before or something, or like it starts it off almost. I mean, he's a little bit extra because, he go out there and get like musicians and choirs and stuff like that. And then random interviews like on stage while somebody's like via satellite. And it's like, I don't know, but I don't see it being too big of a deal. Now, if anything, the Zoom meeting, the diversity Zoom meeting, you can cut that. There's no point. I could deal with all of them showing up and having that one show where it's like, we're all in these different diversity groups, and here's our games.
So here's why I don't like it. I'm gonna be real. And honestly, it's because should diversity be in video games and like the background and everything like that? Absolutely. But the fact that we have to have the show each year lets me know that like, well, it's not happening. Like this, it just feels like they're losing. Where it's just like, hey, we need diversity in games, And it's like, if you said that 5 years in a row, why hasn't it just been done yet? Like,
I feel like I feel like there's been diversity in everything all this time.
For sure.
It's just everybody's acting silly right now, and I don't know how much we can go into that because that seems more political now. But
yeah, so like the E3 thing, it used to be like really big, but then also keep in mind with some of these companies too, right?
Yeah.
If you're releasing stuff on your own page and like people are just going to generate hype, like they're just going to want to see what's going on PlayStation. Everybody gets to be like one of the first to know and all this other stuff. Whereas if you're doing this event, you have to not only do stuff, but like at an E3, you got to also make sure your thing was worth not going to see the other thing and waiting in line to go see it. So I'm sure like PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo wouldn't like show their show at the same time and everything. But it's like, can you imagine like having to wait in a line with, let's be honest, some musty people, like wait in a line with like a musty crowd for a really long time to be one of the first ones in, to be like shoved into a cramped theater just for them to show bug snacks. Right? Like it's when you could have been at home watching it. So it's like it's a little less pressure if you could just release the stuff on your YouTube channel as opposed to like having to make it theater-wide and then everyone booing. I think that didn't help. Like they were really trying to hype up Diablo Immortal, and over here was like, yo, we're gonna put Diablo on microtransactions, and everyone booed, and they're just like, whoa, I don't think you understand. You have a phone, right? That's what they even said at the event. They're like, you have a phone, don't you? Or how are you booing this? And people were, so it's like, now you ain't got to deal with boos. You have your artificial host hyping up.
You got your dislike squad. You got them.
You got dislike squad. But for the people who don't pay, like for whatever reason, don't pay attention to comments, which is not a lot, but like for the few, right? You're just going to have your host on stage go, wow, that looks really fun. Like, so you don't have to deal with the crowd just booing you on the spot now. So, I don't know. I do think it's sad that it had to go, but I understand why.
I think it's for the better. Because, like, what this year so far, the format to me has been, I can't say excellent, but it's been very good because there was an Xbox show in January. I believe right after that we talked about Playdate, and Playdate is not as big as something like Xbox, sure, but it was like it was spaced out though, you know, like so Playdate had their thing somewhere in there. Capcom had a thing, right? And I don't think you really can count it as a show, but Nintendo had their showing that we're going to talk about next, which was about Tears of the Kingdom. Right, but I think they had an indie show before that earlier on, and then there was this future game show at one point too. But this is like spaced out like every 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And then there's news that there's going to be a bigger PlayStation show that's going to be showing off more of their stuff. That's going to be coming out closer towards the summertime. But it's not all crammed in like the same day. There were times when they did it, they called it E3. It was like, okay, here's this, and it was an hour and a half, and you got like 15 or 20 minutes before we do another hour and a half thing or something. It's like, come on, it's a little much. Maybe for E3 in person, it's probably a thing for them. But even then, they would have missed most of it, right? They would have missed it. So for the format where somebody shows up and comes out with something, like if you look at all the names here, well, that I wrote down, like I said, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, Tencent, Sega, Ubisoft, Capcom, Future Game Show, Gearbox, PC Show, the Diversity Woke Crowd, and then they'll throw Playdate in there. Why not? And what if that was every 2 weeks? Right? Every 2 weeks. That's still good. And you mix some of the big ones up with the smaller ones. That's still pretty good. And then they all have enough time. It's like, okay, you did something. Now you come back in like 3 months or something like that. Or you come back, you know, you space it out throughout the year. For anybody who's in that type of situation, the media, small content creators, bigger content creators, like you have something that's to talk about. And whether it's good or bad, you have something to talk about. And it's not crunched together.
I think, and on to that point, which I think you're making a great point, it lets things kind of shine on their own. Like for people that's not like us, where we are comparing different shows because we have to watch all the shows, right? You can see the Xbox show without having to go, well, PlayStation did more or something like that, right? Or PlayStation did less.
Well, they're gonna do that regardless.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like,
some people gonna do that regardless.
For like an average fan, for example, like if they have an Xbox and they're like, here's some stuff coming out on Xbox, you're not watching it immediately after having to just watch a PlayStation one.
Yeah.
Like earlier that day. You know, you get to kind of isolate, like you get to be excited about what's coming out for Xbox without immediately comparing to the thing you just saw, right?
But
and I think another strategy is the play date. Like things like the play date.
Yeah.
Some of these indie shows, they're not just like, well, because like a lot of times, like over that E3 week, I would see the indie show and I'm like, none of this looked as good as this one PlayStation game. Like, why am I looking at this versus just it's an indie show and it's like, oh, okay, like, you know, I get to really look at some stuff. It allows things to breathe.
Yeah, like I might not really want to play the Playdate right now or sold on it, but I appreciate what it gave to the table. You know what I mean? I appreciate the diversity there. Even with, like, I'm going to talk about later on, like all these other devices that I compared it to. Like, I appreciate the options there, and I think they're still just as relevant in gaming in general, even if they're like, you know, supporting emulation. It's just like, for you, the gamer, it's like you just want to play. You want to play as much as you can. If you don't have the option anymore, like what we're going to talk about later on, then that's sure the option, I guess. But we can move on from all the E3 noise. E3 is there.
So
go ahead.
Something just dropped. Santa Monica Studio. Just to know, I don't know. Let me look into it and see if it's real. Never mind. Let's move on to the next thing real quick, and then we'll see.
I'll circle back to that in a second. The next thing I wanted to talk about anyway would be Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, obviously this is going to be the hottest release for Nintendo this year. Arguably one of the biggest games, period, for this year. But going forward, I gotta say the industry is gonna copy the mess out of their new system that they're creating, because they're taking everything that was just kind of just extra in the game, and they're giving you the opportunity to use it in a very, very creative way. And so what am I talking about? Like their creative system in their last gameplay clip that they shown, where you were fusing things like the tree branch with like a boulder. And it seemed like it might be silly to do something like that, but when I say like there was so many different things that you just had in your like on your person basically as Link, that was just like completely useless in Breath of the Wild unless you just sold it. Like it was just all these monster parts, right? Like you just had all these monster parts, and then they were showing like, oh, you could take these monster parts and you can almost use them now as arrows. And they were like heat-seeking arrows. They were like following the bat or whatever. And I think that was like a monster part eye or a monster part wing or something. And I was just like, yo, that was so creative. And then the creativity around creating the boat or whatever out of just parts everywhere. Now, I'm pretty sure your creativity will only go so far, but I just thought it was very unique in what you were doing with some of Link's extra abilities. I don't know if you're still going to get the same abilities from the first game, but at the very least, they got something here, because there was a crowd, which was including me, that was just saying this is just straight up DLC, but not really like saying it out loud, because you know, like Nintendo fans are vicious. But honestly, like that's very, very, very unique, and the industry is going to copy the crap out of that. I already know, because they were already copying Breath of the Wild as it was.
True.
But like now they're going to copy that. But that was a game I still pre-ordered. I don't know who else did, but I'm very, very much excited about playing that in the middle of the summer. It's more of a relaxation game for me, because it was always something that I would like to play just getting off work, because you could really just run around in there and it's not super Devil May Cry-ish or anything crazy.
Yeah,
Like you can just chill. But you saw that footage. It was like 13 minutes.
I
How did you
did.
feel about it?
I don't like the fusing of the weapons just seems so interesting to me because I'm like, I'm all creative and all that, like, make your how long I take to make a character.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just like I get to experiment with weapons. Like, I think they were showing it. What was that?
Yeah.
Was it Dead Island 2? Where they were talking about the different, like, you could take claws and then just make them electrical by like putting stuff together. That was the most interesting, like, looking thing for the game that almost sold me on it, like, right away, which made me go, yo, I want to play it just to see what weapons I can make. And now I can do this for this game, too, something that I've already wanted to get to begin with.
Yeah,
I really like that, like you mentioned with the monster, like, not wasting the monster bits.
Yeah, you accumulate so much of that in Breath of the Wild. And the only thing you really could do was sell it or to create some sort of elixir. But yeah. I'm looking forward to this.
I think the going through the ceiling thing is going to cause some glitches. I don't know. I'm nervous about that one. Like
it looked like it would, but at the same time, I think they designed certain platforms because the dude who was explaining it was like, you got to look up at the ceiling first, and on the inside the ceiling, underneath the ground, if it looked a certain way, you can do it. If it had like a certain pattern, on the top you don't see that, but underneath is there. So maybe
you're right. Okay.
Yeah. They can't afford to let this game have glitches though. This is the one where even though they pushed it back and it made me a little nervous, they can't afford that. This is too big of a game for them. Because like I said, this is gonna be the game everybody's gonna copy too. You're gonna see this in like so many different versions of games in the next 2 years, 3 years afterwards, which is gonna be more of a bad thing than a good thing in a way, because you're gonna see people do it just wrong, like they're not gonna understand like the point of it. Because Breath of the Wild's like the actual area told a story. It was showing the aftermath of a giant war, and in other games it was just like, oh, here's this beautiful scenery just because. It was like, yo, Breath of the Wild had some, like, it looked beautiful, but if you look down into the detail, you would see ruins of just destruction. You would like encounter a whole bunch of rusted metal parts and stuff everywhere. Like, it wasn't just a beautiful area. And everybody that copied it didn't look at that. They just looked at it like, oh, here's this nice area, so you could do this too. And here's a game where your weapons don't break. It's just like, well,
basically.
Yeah, they addressed that. It was like, listen, your weapons are still gonna break, but you'll be able to create new ones like instantly.
I'm gonna be honest,
have to wait for a good sword. But yeah, go ahead.
I feel like I was super in the minority here. I didn't mind the weapon breaking thing. It kept me on my toes about learning how to use everything. Like, I don't know. It was sometimes thrilling in a battle where it's like 5 enemies and my weapon just broke, and now I gotta grab this tree branch and just go. Yeah. Like, the only thing that got annoying, so the main weapon that I used, at least for the parts of the game that I played so far, the boomerang and everything, because I love it. It was like you could throw it, get it back, and then you could still like melee with it. But then it was like, oh shoot, that just broke. All right, let me grab this bomb real quick. Let me grab these arrows real quick. And it got me to not just like boomerang my entire way through like the map. Like, it forced me to learn some new stuff. Which I don't mind. I can understand like getting frustrated if it's breaking too many times too quickly. I didn't feel like that for me. But I also didn't like latch on to any like other weapon that much. So it was noticeable when my boomerang broke. But I tried to always have like 3 on deck and then like use other stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, the trailer looks great. So I never beat the first one. Like, I got I got into it like maybe a fifth of the way in, and then played something else. And when I came back to it, completely forgot the controls, forgot where I was at, forgot what I was trying to do. I think I'm in an area I'm not supposed to be in. Everything's like killing me. And like, I was like, all right, I just need to restart, and never got around to do it. But that's definitely something I plan to do.
I put a couple 100 hours into it. I definitely finished it. Once I figured out exactly what to do, it took it being like very overwhelming to being like relatively understandable. So Yeah, I look forward to the next one. This is definitely another game that's going to be in the Game of the Year category easily,
Absolutely,
and I can't wait
absolutely.
to play it. Moving forward, there was a couple other things though with this that they showed off where I guess like there's the OLED system, um,
Yes,
which is
you
only
get
like
it.
$10 more. I thought about it. I ain't even gonna hold you up because I actually need an extra. I need an extra dock. Don't need a whole extra system, but
Feel that.
the dock like looks very nice. A OLED system really doesn't do me any justice because I like to play on the big screen, and the big screen was already a relatively nice TV anyway. But um, the actual this one, and I believe the Pokemon one I thought looked very good. But this one was also rumors at one point, and then like the actual model leaked through pictures, and then there was like a big influencer out there that got it early, which I don't even know if Nintendo is going to tear him apart for it, but whatever. He got it early. Um, this is set to come out on April 28th, I believe. But the Pro controller and the case, there's a Pro controller also in a case. I think those are coming out May 12th, like right around the time the game comes
Oh,
out. Um, the Pro controller looks good too. It's just the little part where they made it white. I thought that was kind of like a poor choice on my end. That just didn't look as good if it just kept that part black. Because
yeah.
the right or the left side is blacker than the white side, or the right side is white. And I didn't know. It kind of looked off to me. The case looked nice. The case is gonna be the cheapest thing, so anybody can get that. That's like $24.99 if you really want that case. Um, that Pro controller is $74.99. I think I'm gonna pass on that. But yeah, it's a big package. Big package for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. They're putting a lot of chips into this, and yeah, you can get all this extra stuff. So I'm on the fence with an OLED model. I don't think I'm gonna actually do that. I think I'm gonna just bow out and get a second, like a second
Wow.
dock. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. Only issue I got with it is like they sell the dock and then they sell the charger for it separately. And I think like once you get it all together, it's almost $90. And I was just
Ah,
like, what the heck? Like you almost might
yeah,
as well get a used Switch from
yeah,
off like somebody's like Craigslist or something just to
yeah.
get the dock. Cause that's all I really wanted was the dock, but I might as well spend a little bit extra and get a Switch. I don't want to pay for a full one if I'm like if anything, I would be pushing Steam Deck, Steam Deck at that point. But
Understood.
yeah, huge, huge. This is huge. This game for them. I don't know what else is coming. There's still gonna be more stuff coming on Nintendo, but I don't know what else is bigger than this game because this was like arguably the most anticipated thing that they had in a while. Where everything else was like some form of surprise that's usually from the past, and then just like games that just kind of come out. Like with Bayonetta 3, that was like, hey, we're gonna have Bayonetta, but like the game itself wasn't really the thing anybody was talking about. They was talking about the actress. They was talking about like drama behind the scenes, and then Fire Emblem came out and it was like positively received, but it wasn't like as transitioned like it didn't transition to other crowds the way this one is. Like Tears of the Kingdom is probably their biggest game. I think the only thing that's going to be bigger than that would be a second Switch or Odyssey 2. Like I don't know what else could be bigger than this. So, yeah. Day one buy for me. I already pre-ordered it.
Okay.
Um yeah. And we can move forward. Unless you got anything else you want to say about Tears.
No, it just looks great. I really got to get back into this first one, and then I'll probably be hopping onto that one like right after. So,
Yeah, huge. That one I'm gonna take my sweet time. It might take me from the day it comes out to the rest of the year. It'll just be that game because I'm gonna definitely utilize just playing it as soon as I get off work or something. Like if I ain't got nothing else I need to do, even for the channel or whatever, it's like I could easily just like chill and play that, because that's what I was doing when we had the lockdowns initially. It was the most chill game. Like it could turn up if you wanted to turn up, but if you just wanted to explore, completely chill, and it had that piano music,
Yep.
perfect. That was just perfect. Yeah, but we can move on from that. The next thing that I want to talk about real quick, this probably don't have to take too long. But Steam in general. So Steam is ending support on Windows 7, 8, and 8.1. And
Really?
they're giving you until January 1st, 2024 before they, I guess, pull the plug, and you won't be able to pull Steam up on those systems or on those OSs, basically. Apparently, that's the way that they put it. So it seems strange. So that might be, depending on how you look at it, I guess that's negative news in a way. But
So I don't understand that. Like when they say like we're not going to support it, does that mean no more updates? Like, or does that mean it straight up ain't gonna work?
I think it's just no more updates, but the way that some of the news sources was wording it, they was almost making it seem like it's not going to work anymore. But I don't see how that's possible, because it's still just Windows code in general. Like you should still be able to pull it up if you got that type of laptop or something.
Yeah.
But they gave you to January 1st, so technically what we got, like we got 8 months, I guess. So
Yep.
I don't know. I don't think they. If anything, you just no updates, and then maybe newer game releases will probably just not work on those particular OSs. But yeah, that's what they're saying. They're ending the support. So somewhat of a bad thing, I guess, the way you look at it. But here's something that I think was a big thing that's not necessarily probably as big as what I just mentioned, but it might be big to some. It's big to me. But they also mentioned that they're adding the Dolphin emulator support within
Heard
Steam.
about that.
And that's going to be rolling out in the second quarter of 2023, which I kind of feel like we're in the second quarter now, technically. But yeah, what that really means, because I'm pretty sure that's probably confusing to a lot of people, because it's like Steam is mainly on PC. You already have a PC, so you also have access to emulate anything on your desktop. What are we doing? So I believe the difference is you'll officially be able to like have the games within your Steam library that you have in emulation, and it'll look nice and pretty in the library next to your like official games that you bought. But then also you will have the ability to move your save states around, which is something that was known through Steam, where you play a game on one system, you could pick back up on another system. So emulation wise, you'll be able to do something similar, provided that you have the same game installed on another platform, another system. So it takes emulation to another level as well, because you can start something on one area or one platform or one laptop or something, and then move to another thing.
Yeah.
That was something that I was like looking into with RetroArch for emulation with some of those handheld devices that I was talking about before. But now you can do that with Dolphin, which is mainly GameCube and the Wii. And I don't know what this is, but I would like to find out. There's some sort of deep vendetta, I think, that Valve or Steam has with Nintendo that seem to be deep rooted. Like they're doing, if you really look at this, like there's multiple ways that you can take from Nintendo coming directly from Steam. Like it's just they're because that's all Dolphin Emulator is. Who's using it for anything else? It's GameCube and the Wii, and then Yuzu and stuff.
Not that support right so close to the stores being shut down, as well.
Yeah. Like The whole Steam Deck's like initial launch, I remember it was piggybacking off of people not liking the news of Switch OLED initially because they wanted a Switch 2. And I know like a part of it was kind of a coincidence, but there was like a certain level of timing with that where they were just like, listen, we got the Switch 2 basically, and you could play your Switch games on it. And then all these channels was coming out with all these videos and basically saying like they were mocking Nintendo. There was a couple of them just straight up mocking Nintendo, and it was like, it's your right to back up your games and blah 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 blah. And it's like let's call a spade a spade. Like they know the audience is not going to be backing up anything. They're going to literally go out there and just take a copy. That's just how it rolls.
Yep.
But yeah, but at least just for this sake, let's say I have one of those little mini PC devices that I take with me in my like in my backpack or something, and it's not a laptop, it's something real small. Like I could do that, and I'm in a hotel room. I hook that up to the hotel's Wi-Fi and everything, and that device has a game I've been playing on my glorious PC at home, where I could pick that game up basically on that new device and play something on the Dolphin emulator there. Similar to what you would do with any other platform, you know, your save state if it's attached to a cloud. So you're probably going to see some stuff like that. And then again, it's just more for the aesthetic to have all those emulated stuff sitting pretty right next to your Steam library. So
I can think of two sources for the maybe the like hate towards Nintendo. Either one, like if you notice, PlayStation has some games on Steam. Mm-hmm. Xbox, of course, shares games with Steam. Nintendo won't. That could be one thing. Or maybe they just don't like Nintendo practices. So they're just like, well, we're going to fight them.
Yeah.
It might just be like, we don't like how they do stuff and we're going to make it known. Like, remember, wasn't it Steam? Was it Steam? That was just like, we're not dealing with that NFT crap. It was one of them that I believe said that somebody was like, it was something that happened and they took a strong, like, we're not dealing with that stupid stuff. Like, they were very, like, hands-on with it. Or, like, very, like, open about, like, agreeing with people. So I think they make it known if they don't like the practices of how a company runs.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's just interesting because, like, I don't think anybody really took it to that angle, but it's like, when you really think about it, Dolphin is only GameCube and Wii emulation, and it's very good. It's very good. Like anything that I've done so far, despite whether or not I didn't like the game itself, it's like I had no glitches, I had no issues. I was able to add HD textures. I was able to widescreen stuff, bring stuff up to like 1080p or even higher if I needed to, like with the HD textures. So with no problem, and you can play anything you want with GameCube and the Wii directly on the PC. You really could. And so yeah, I guess you could add it to Steam. I don't know if I would really necessarily need to do that myself, because whenever I did something like that, I would only emulate like 1 or 2 games at a time. I don't think I would put the entire library or something like a GameCube library through emulation on Steam, because that's a lot of files that take up a lot of space. It's not like the smaller handheld stuff, but it's still a W. It's a W for I guess gamers in general. Because one thing that stands out to me when it comes to just like Nintendo and their online stores and stuff, like even when they do the stuff right, there's always that 1 or 2 games for a lot of people. It's always going to be a different game per person, where it's just like, where's this one? Where's that one? Especially when they had those like mini consoles that they did at one point, where it's just like, here's the classic console. And the answer will always be, there's some sort of license to why we can't bring this over. It was like that with Xbox as well. Like I had to get a 360 because certain games, they literally can't allow you to play on a Series X or in Game Pass or something, simply because there's a license agreement that says no, you just can't. Like all the 007s I was going on and on about a few weeks ago, the 007 games. Those are licensed games, so they're literally like permanently on older systems because they don't have agreements, you know. Or I don't know if you remember the situation with Marvel versus Capcom on PS2 before they got the license back. It was just like that was the last one at one point, and it made it like extremely expensive on eBay and stuff, and there wasn't that many copies. And that was another thing, like they can't even print more copies of certain games either because of licenses. They have an agreement for a certain amount, and it's weird stuff. But Emulation pretty much just says, well, screw your license, basically. I want to play it. So, yeah. So, I support that if you don't have an ability to buy it, you know, definitely. But, yeah, we can move on. I want to go ahead and just do, like, the middle portion right now, a little bit early. So, the halfway point, I usually always highlight some free games and game sales. And that's with an unofficial sponsor, which is Epic Games. And Epic Games, apparently, like last week when I was talking about one of the games that was going to be free, it was actually the game called Tunchi, right? They snuck one in there that wasn't showing under Epic before. So with Tunchi and this other game, you have from now until April 6th to get it. And so the other game was called The Silent Age, and that wasn't showing last week, and I don't think I mentioned it last week. I'm pretty sure I didn't. So yeah, The Silent Age, and then Tunchi. I looked at Tunchi. Tunchi looks like a it almost looks like they took Dora the Explorer in a way and changed it into something else, and then they said it was co-op. It looked like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, almost like Streets of Rage, but not as good as Streets of Rage. But it's co-op and it's a beat 'em up. So I looked at that and I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, you can get that from now until April 6th. And then from April 6th to April 13th, they have Blazing Sails as one game. Sails as in sailing the high seas, I guess. SAILS, not sales as in like you selling something, or CELLs. So yeah, Blazing Sails. And then the next one is actually a bigger one. So every so often they do give you some big games. So this one is Dying Light Enhanced Edition. This is the first one. So Dying Light, they're going to give you that one from April 6th to April 13th. So definitely get your Epic account. Remember, you still don't need to have a debit card right away. You just need to create a profile, and then you can have access to this. And one day when you do get a PC, you just have this ever increasing library that you can test your stuff out on. So those are the free games from Epic. There's one other one that's from Steam. Now I don't know the vendetta with this, but I'm pretty sure this is not, well, actually it says it's developed and published by Sega. So I don't know what's going on. But a game that released on March 31st, 2023, I believe this is a visual novel point and click game, but it's called The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, just heard about this.
Yes, you heard that right. That is official. And it's on Steam, and it's free. You can go and add it to your library. And somebody killed Sonic, and they trying to figure out who did it. I don't know why they made this game. I don't know. It's quick point and click. It looked like it's a mystery involving almost every character you've ever seen in all the Sonic games from the past. And they trying to figure it out, man. They trying to figure out who did it, man. Who did it? Who you think did it? You think it was Shadow? Got to blame the black man. It's always the black man.
It's probably going to be Mighty. If you said they have all of them in there, then it's going to be Mighty the Armadillo.
One of them did it. Somebody did it. They killed Sonic. I just can't believe that was official, because when I first saw it, I thought like somebody made one of those like games where it's like this is a clone of something, you know?
Yeah.
I thought they did that because somebody did that with Super Mario, like a Super Mario side scroller, but they did Bernie Sanders. And he was just like, it was just like this itty bitty little old man, and you just jumping around in like those kind of levels, but most of it was like blue and white instead of like red. And so they
Okay.
did that. Yeah. So, but this is not. This is official. This is coming
It's
directly
made
from
by
Sega.
so yeah, it's made by Sega, and I see how they cleaned it up. Okay, they
Yeah.
about the game. It's a murder mystery for one of the characters' birthdays. Okay, I thought straight up Sonic was just like dead. Okay,
Well, yeah. So maybe bad PR if people care that much. Who knows? But another interesting thing for free-ish, I guess, starting today or yesterday, technically, every everything inside of Marvel Avengers, like their store, all the outfits and stuff, all of that is now free. So if you ever saw an outfit, like I remember they did the Avengers outfits from the movies, like any of that stuff, if you ever want to just go and get it, put it on in the game and play with that, you can now. They're officially not charging anymore. So that's a game that I'm gonna pick up eventually because I already own it, but I didn't start playing. I'm gonna probably fire it up once I get done with some of my backlog stuff, right before Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, if you have Marvel Avengers and you've already played it or you haven't played it yet, you can go put on all the outfits. Remember all of those different challenging cards and then those extra like takedown moves and stuff. You can go load all of that in and play this to the best of your ability before they delist it, I guess.
apparently they also fixed progression, so now you can get to like better moves faster. So they're like, so
Okay.
each hero feels fun and unique. So it's crazy that when they thought this would be a forever give us money game, they slowed progression, and now that they quit, they're like, nah, now you can actually play it where it's fun.
So shout out to my co-host for beta testing this game, getting it prepared for me when I actually
Yep,
play it
I
myself,
played
I
it.
guess.
It was one of the two games that stopped me from ever pre-ordering a game ever again. It was this and WWE 2K20.
All right.
2K20 was the final straw because it was broken. This because it just wasn't good. Like it was good. The story was fine. There was just so much wrong with it. But it wasn't the game that broke me because it worked. It was fine. I played through it. It was whatever. And then 2K20 was the official final straw. But I
Do you
credit
think
this game for it too.
you think they fixed the like the whole Hulk situation where you're saying the Hulk
No.
can hit somebody with the same amount of punches as like the smallest character in there, like Black Widow or something?
No, they at most they said that you could get to cooler moves faster, so you get more moves that look like Hulk would do it instead of just a generic punch. But I don't. Still think it takes the same amount of hits for everything.
Okay. Well, at least for everybody else, you get to have the full experience without anything holding back. So there you go. I can't wait to get into that myself. The next thing, this was a game that was in my backlog that I technically haven't finished yet, but Hollow Knights is $7.49 via Good Old Games on PC, and then it's also available on PS Plus Extra and Game Pass right now. Here's another game. I think I might own this or it's on my wish list somewhere, but it's a game called Frogun or Frogun. It's like a old school looking platformer that was recently made. It's on the eShop for $10.49. I'm still big on platformers. I'm not letting platformers die. So there's that. There's a game called Quake. If anybody remembers Quake, that is a part of Game Pass, but you can buy it on the eShop for $3.99. And I believe that is all of my actual sales. I did see Alan Wake's remaster on the PSN store for $13.49. That was a game that I recently put a video out on, or at least the first version of it, and then some of the other stuff attached to it that's on my channel. So check that out. Check out that game. I do recommend it. $13.49 on the eShop, and PSN store, and then it's a part of Target's buy one game, buy another game, and get it 50% off, which is the PlayStation 4 and Xbox version at Target. So that's another thing. Target is where I got my Tears of the Kingdom pre-order from at a discount. So definitely check back at them. I looked at their Target selection. As far as the newest stuff, you could probably get Callisto Protocol as low as $20 if you buy another game full price, because it's buy one get one 50% off. Callisto Protocol has been marked down to like $40 everywhere now online. So like if you went on there and got Dead Space at full price, you can get Callisto for like $20 if you take advantage of that deal. But they also have some other stuff there. And then the Xbox version of Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, the Super Edition that comes with everything, that is $11.98 on Amazon and GameStop. I thought about getting this, even though I have it on PlayStation, because the only thing I needed was like the last couple DLCs, but it's cheaper for me to get this complete version than it is to get the DLC. Don't you hate when that happens? That happens a lot.
Yep.
That happens a lot. And so, yeah, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence on it. I might do it though. I think the DLC that I still didn't have was the one that had Adam as like the Ninja Ranger, and like I think Rita and some.
He's really fast in the game. Like as the Ninja Ranger, he's really fast.
Okay. Shout out to a game called Have a Nice Death. That one is a recent release. It's on Steam for $18.79. I talked about it in the past. I'm actually coming out with a bigger video this upcoming week that's going to feature that game as well. And then Watchdog Legions for the PS4, that is $9.99 at Best Buy if you wanted to get that. And I think that might be everything. Just scrolling through everything I bookmarked. Yes. Last thing, if you're one of those people who was into that weird looking kitty game, Slime Rancher, I think it's like a shooter. It's $4.99 on Steam and the US PlayStation Store, PSN. It's also on PS Extra, and then you can also play it on the Steam Deck. That's all I got as far as like sales. But yeah. Okay. Anything you want to mention on that? Anything you just looked at sales wise?
No.
I guess?
Well, so sorry about the false hype earlier where I said I had to look into something. Forgot today was April Fool's Day, so I got fooled on something. But
okay.
It's all good. So I ain't got nothing.
All right. The next thing, I guess, one of the bigger topics was Last of Us. I think I want to move that one a little bit later for a second, because we kind of was already talking about this. Nintendo's eShop, because we're talking about game sales. I think it's a better transition. So the eShop for the Wii U and 3DS apparently is over, and you can't buy anything else there. You heard about this, right? You see like videos. There was like people talking about how they were trying to buy everything on there at the last minute.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I own everything. Like, I'm not gonna sell my 3DS. I like probably ever, and I already own like all the games I would have wanted personally on 3DS. Sure, there's probably more that I could have gotten. It would be cool to play, but I know all the games that made me go, "Oh, I need to get this for 3DS." I did get those already, so I was okay. It's stupid to me that it's closing down, but all they're doing is they're closing it down so they can resell them at full price for the Switch. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as it's a weird analogy, but it's the same thing as Taco Bell. And what I mean by that is Taco Bell just removes things from the menu, right? And when they first announced it, like they're dropping their menu, and everybody started freaking out, I was like, it's fine. They're just gonna bring it back slowly, but build hype around it. So they remove things, and then every once in a while, I'll be like, hey, for a limited time only, this item that people didn't really get, it's back, and then everybody jumps on the hype to get it quickly.
They
and that's
did
what
that
they're
for
gonna
like
do.
the Mexican pizza, right? If I remember correctly.
People wasn't.
Yeah.
really get Mexican pizzas like that. Like, I know some people who got it, but like overall, like I've been around Taco Bell and I've never like that many times heard Mexican pizza, please. And then all of a sudden they were like bringing it back, and everyone's like, yes. And I'm like, you never got it before.
I'm really
Like,
big
calm
on the
down.
double decker tacos. I make that at home, but I think they took that off the menu too.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same thing with this. I feel like because they've been trying to re-release old classics, but like as you just said, because of licensing, some things they can't. Now they get to re-release Wii U and 3DS stuff, right, for the Switch, where they could charge you full price. Where people will go, why would I pay $60 for this when I could go and just buy it for like $5 on the 3DS? Well, now you can't buy it for $5 on the 3DS. So if you want to play it, go pay $60. That's all I think they're doing.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. There are these devices out there in the meantime called Steam Deck and other ones that are just like forget your feelings basically. I want to say the other word, but we family friendly over here. That is just like we're not dealing with that basically. So like Nintendo, I mean it's a double-edged sword because it is like an older shop. Like how long can you keep it up? But at the same time, they need to understand like yo, that's not gonna bring people in. Tears of the Kingdom will, because it's new. But when you throw something out like that Kirby game that they bought over from 3DS and charged like $60 for it just because the other Kirby game was successful, it's like, you know, somebody coming from PlayStation or Xbox is not about to buy that for $60. They're not. They're going to pull out a Steam Deck or their PC and play the old version. It's just, that's what they're going to do. Very rarely is somebody going to do that. Even with Metroid Prime is like one of my favorite ones, but the best thing that they could have done with that one was make it 40. You notice like it would not have gotten as much praise at 60. That $20 difference is huge.
Yeah.
Like they need to do that with the rest of them. But you know, porting some of these games over from Wii and 3DS just to make them $60 is not going to be good on Nintendo. Even though they get away with a lot of stuff, they're not going to increase their sales on that. They're going to get their sales from stuff like Tears of the Kingdom because it's going to be a newer game.
Yeah.
For everybody else though, yeah, go ahead real quick.
It's just a trick for like nostalgia people or like kids who, let's say they don't have a 3DS, right? Like it's like little kids whose first system is the Switch. They played a Kirby game. Now they don't need to make a new Kirby game. They can release the old Kirby game. Like that's what's happening. But then like if you have a fully functioning store on a fully functioning system and it only costs you like $5 to get it, then they're like, well, no, we want to charge full price. So I don't know. It's crazy to me. I don't know why they're doing. I never really understood the whole remove from the store, but it's like for now, like basically without having to do emulation or buying an old system to play a PS1 game, I would need, technically speaking, PlayStation Premium, and hope that they brought it back. And I feel like that's what they're doing here. Like I wouldn't be surprised if their next iteration of the Nintendo like little live service thing would be a Wii, like Wii games now on the Switch, and then 3DS games, or 3DS would probably be next. Like how they did the Super Nintendo and then the N64 would probably be DS next. But you can't really hype it. I don't think
that's a bad thing that they put that there. My only thing was just that there's still those licensed games, like I said before, where they're just like, we can't. And if you're somebody, so for me, the biggest game on N64, well, not the biggest, but one of the biggest ones that's technically licensed would have been WWF No Mercy. I'm pretty sure WWE and Nintendo is probably like, no, this don't represent us no more, right? Because of all the people that's in the game for WWE side, and then the type of game on Nintendo side. But me, let's say I'm a fan of Nintendo, somebody would tell me, well, that's it, you can never play it again. And then what are you supposed to do at that point? And it's like, okay, I can go find the old stuff. Now, I actually do find the old stuff, but I can either do that or I can emulate. And it's like they put themselves in a corner, you know, because let's say if they did bring it back, then they're like, okay, you got to pay it, you got to pay $60 for that, or maybe even 70. And you're looking like, I'm not doing that for no mercy.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that for no mercy. 40 is
No.
kind of a stretch, but I would rather do 40 than 60. Go ahead.
On the flip side of this, though, who was out here still buying Wii U games?
I don't. This was like I'm
this
pretty sure they got a
like,
spike only because of it being the last few days. I don't think it was.
It's the artificial, like they did with the Mario games, where it was like nobody really wanted Sunshine in them, but then they were like, "Hey, you can only buy it for this many months." And it's like, "Well, now I have to get it because of fear of missing out." Nobody was out here buying 3D. Like I said, I haven't bought a 3DS game in a long time. The last one I bought was the Zero Escape series, and I was like, my collection's complete. That was the only thing I was missing for my 3DS. And then all of a sudden it was like, all of a sudden they're just like, you won't be able to buy anymore. So now everybody's like, well, let me hurry up and get everything. And it's just like, did you really want? Like, I get the getting everything because you're probably gonna sell it later. Now I have one with all the games, but like, for the average person who just went on there now quickly to go buy stuff, and it was like, were you ever really gonna get those? Like, you weren't. But now that they said it was shutting down,
it's a FOMO. It's a phobia
fear of missing
thing,
out,
or FOMO thing.
Yeah, it's a fear of missing out.
I will say I fall for it myself as well, but it's only on the emulation side, because what I've been doing has been ridiculous if you really think about it. If you really, really think about it.
Absolutely.
I had to tell myself that. So what I mean for the people who haven't really been paying attention, like, not only did I go back and try to snatch entire libraries, but I went back and grabbed a bunch of systems as well. I was like, I want options for the official way and non-official way. Usually when people do this, they do one or the other. They don't do both. And I was just like, my thought process is that if it don't work on emulation, I don't want any excuse to keep me from getting it the official way. That was my excuse, which it could be considered smart depending on how you look at it, but it was majorly excessive when you really look at like what I play versus what I'm like gathering. And then on top of that, like these eShop sales that I be telling people, I do grab some of these as well. For like the price of what, like a couple Dorito bags, you got a whole game or something from the past. Like sometimes it can be excessive if you let yourself go with it.
You mean one Dorito bag?
Yeah, like you can really like there's one that I didn't announce to you guys because I didn't know if it was still active, but there was like somebody who was like, you can buy 3 games for $5. I had took advantage of that one where it was buy 3 games for $1. And then I bookmarked the other one to go back and look at their selection simply because it's 3 games for $5. Like, at some point it's like, okay, you got to slow down because you're not going to be able to play them all. Like, I know it might seem crazy too to say, but there's a possibility that the majority of gamers may pass away one day without playing every game that they thought they was going to play. But we got to face the fact that could probably happen instead of trying to buy everything. Because I do that. I try to buy everything. And if I can't buy it, then I'm scraping the internet to take it, basically. And that's like, I don't know where I'm going with this. Basically, slow down. But the eShop for the Wii U and 3DS. So I wanted to mention this one thing. The Steam Deck is the most popular system for a lot of people. But if you are not able to get it, there was those little Game Boy devices that I was talking about in the past. One of them was called the WiiU Mini. The other one was the Ambernick, and it has like a bunch of letters I can't think of right now. But there's some new ones that they keep coming out with, man. And one of them was called the Retroid Pocket Flip. And I guess they could just produce as many of these type of things as they want to. But if you look at that system, it is almost exactly the same as a 3DS. I think the XL version, like the biggest one. The only difference is it doesn't have the second screen, and then people was telling you to wait because they always do a revision where they put the second screens in there and or do like more things to it. But I was watching, there was a 40-minute video that came out where it was just like, here's the system playing all these other stuff, and it was playing a bunch of PS2 stuff and GameCube stuff. And I'm just saying, like, listen, like, when they make these threats and take stuff away, there's always this community that's putting out hardware at this point to like give you basically an option to bring it all back if you want to, and then you could take that and just throw it in your desk drawer and you could have the full library or something like 3DS on it. And it's like, I understand, like, yeah, you're advocating for a certain thing, but it's like, if they don't give you the option to buy it anymore, what do? You either go get it from the mom and pop store like I did, or you do this,
or you like, run the internet.
Yeah, and so that's one of them. There's another one called Ambernick New, and I did write this one down, RG405M. That's RG405M. That one looks like a fake Switch. And it also does like emulation of a whole bunch of old systems as well. Now, the widescreen systems is like, I kind of would advise you just get the Steam Deck, because you get the most power. It plays that stuff, and then it plays official stuff that's like brand new or whatever. But there's still these options that are like $150 and less, you know. And then the one that I wanted to get was the Game Boy looking one that's like in the $50-$60 range, right? There's all these different options that will give you the access to like put a lot of these games that are discontinued where you can't buy them no more. You can still play it, you know. And so we say goodbye to a eShop, but the option now, you actually have more options by them doing that, as crazy as that might sound, you know, because you remember,
don't fall for fear of missing out. Like, you'll be able to get it.
So I remember there was a rumor on Microsoft Store that they were going to discontinue a bunch of like old Xbox games in the store a while back, and immediately the community like released like an app that you can like download from within the browser on the Series X and I think Series S, which was the Xenian, I think it's called Xenian or Zenny, something like that. Like, it's basically the Xbox 360 emulator that played all that stuff. So it was like released like within the next week, and it was basically, you could play the emulated version of those games on there. Anything that's not officially on PC. Most of it was already on PC anyway, so you still had options. But like for anybody else who weren't able to play certain games that they delisted, I don't think they delisted everything, because at first it was a rumor, and I think they were going to, but they backtrack. Xbox backtracks a lot sometimes because they don't want the bad PR. But anyways, they allowed you to do it directly on the system, you know. So it's like, yo, like the community got your back if the corporations don't. The corporations will never have your back, but the community is always out there to do what the corporations won't. Like, I remember they did like a full 1-to-1 like remake thing of PT, which was supposed to have been like the playable teaser of Silent Hill before the Silent Hill.
Yep.
It's like there's a PC version of that. It's not exactly from Kojima, but you can at least, if you didn't get a chance, there you go. So yeah, we can move on for that. Just don't you know, think that you're missing out completely, because you're not. You're absolutely not. Anyways, I do want to get out some quick news for like a lot of these little things that I don't think needs to like last that long. But basically, the first thing I could say is the game Sifu. We all like Sifu. Sifu is getting its big arenas expansion, which is it should be out already, and I believe it's free on all the platforms that Sifu is on. So you can you know, go and kung fu yourself to death basically on Sifu. And then also, I think this is still a rumor. I don't think this was confirmed. Some people was acting like it was confirmed, but Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is a thing basically, that people are saying is supposed to be for 2024. It's still mainly in rumor territory. We haven't heard anything official, but there might be a Metal Gear Solid remake. I don't know why they would go for 3. I think they should do 1, 2, and then 3. Like, do what Resident Evil is doing. But yeah, that's a thing. I wanted to give props to Saints Row. That was a game that pretty much got buried. I know you said, well, why? Well, the reason why is because it apparently was supposed to get, it's still getting like 3 expansions leading all the way up until August 23. The reason why I say that is because maybe it was a small amount of people who liked the game and a large amount of people who didn't like it, but they didn't just drop it completely. I think if they had stuff planned, they followed through it. And I rather they follow through for whoever liked it or whatever than to just do the Forspoken thing. And I gotta tread lightly on Forspoken because apparently Forspoken is also going to come out with like a DLC as well.
Yep, Forspoken got DLC coming.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they're still doing that because I don't think that it was fair to, like, you know, consolidate that company or whatever, consolidate that studio back into Square Enix like immediately. I thought it was way too. It was way too quick. Like, yeah, I know the game got trashed a little bit, but yeah, I didn't want them to just drop it all together because there were still people out there that still paid, you know, $70 for that game. But yeah, Forspoken, I think theirs is called Antanta We Trust. And so that's supposed to launch on May 26th for PS5 and PC. And it's supposed to be story DLC. So it's more DLC that has like a whole nother character added on to the character. I think her name was Faye. And so, yeah.
I'll probably end up playing Forspoken once like all of their deal, whatever plans they have is all completely out.
Yeah.
And I can get it all together. Because like I said, the game, it just looked bland, but it didn't look like it was the worst thing. So,
yeah.
I'll play it eventually.
Yeah. When the news dies down, when everybody like shut up, that's when it's usually better, you know. I trashed it myself, I'm sure. Not a lot of people, well, maybe a lot of people did like that video, but you know, you at the end of the day, you got to like try a game for yourself at the end of the day. I tried it. That was my perception of it, but yeah. Another thing, so we kind of mentioned this, or we mentioned the name Silent Hill. So this is actually a little interesting. Silent Hill 2 remake, according to the series writer, will upset some people. That was just a quote. I don't know any more into that. I don't know what's going to happen, but apparently usually that means it's not completely one-to-one, but it's going to accept some people, I guess, is what he's saying. So, or whoever said that. So, just be prepared for that. I will be playing it like everybody else, but be prepared for it not being exactly the same. But, you know, you still have options to play the original through emulation or if you actually own it. Yeah. Like we said before. Shout out to Vin Diesel. Arc 2 is being delayed until the very end of 2024. I don't know too much about the game because I wasn't really following it. I actually forgot all about it, but
I completely forgot about it.
when I saw the news, I was just like, oh, okay. Well, they still have his likeness and him in the game basically, but I guess the game itself needs to be worked on. So for whoever is looking for that, yeah, you gotta play some other stuff to hold you over. There's plenty of good stuff in 2023 at least that'll hold you over. But yeah, you got until the end of 2024 for that. Another thing that I saw that I was kind of like annoyed with a little bit, but probably shouldn't be. Xbox revealed a red and blue Elite controller, the Series 2 controller.
Okay.
It looked just like any other controller. My only thing, they all got a green one. I'm like, why did you do a red and a blue one and not a green one? So that was my issue, because I actually want one of these controllers eventually, but I want it makes sense to have a green one if I'm gonna do it. Like, I don't want a red one or a blue one. I want the green Elite controller.
You get a Nintendo Elite controller or a PlayStation Elite controller.
Now, technically, you can create it in Design Lab. So I did go in Design Lab and mess around with it, and the price came up to like something like $230. And like, if you buy one of their pre-made core ones, they're as low as like $120. And I'm like, my dude, like, Phil, make a green one. How did you not make a green? Because that was what I did. I went in there and made it green and made like some of the buttons, make little changes here and there. And it came up to like 220, 230. I'm like, bro. And you can get the.
That's why they ain't make it green. Green costs $50 more.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. And then the other part of the news for Xbox is they got rid of the $1 Game Pass deal. So if anybody's familiar, you get your first month for $1 on the console side, and I think on PC side it was like up to 3 months. And I guess people was like exploiting this a lot. They would go in, play something, come back with a different email and stuff, and do it again later or something whenever something big was going on there. So they was finessing the system like crazy, and they're just like, no more of that. So
that's crazy. The people who do that, they have just rotating emails. All you got to do is just keep changing the number on the end, and it's a new email.
Yeah. So they did that, and then they quietly released like a family package, which I believe is like $39.99, and up to 5 people can be in it. And so cool. There's a thing. I don't know how they will work that out, but up to 5 accounts can be in it at the same time. So for everybody who's got these super Discords and like super, Twitter spaces where you're in there all day, y'all can get together and save some money, I guess. So that's probably good for families, but I don't know how many people. It's really gonna be the bros who get together and do this, but that's a lot of people to juggle when somebody's not cash apping their portion. So we have to figure that out. Y'all gonna figure that out. And I think that might be all of the fast news, and then we can get on to some other stuff. So you saw, and I just recently looked at Exoprimal's gameplay coming from I guess IGN. Yes.
It looks like it's fun for like a couple hours and then boring after. Like, so basically you're with a squad. The thing had bots in it, but you're with a squad, and then there's an enemy squad that you don't see right away. And you guys are racing to take down hordes of raptors. You get an Anthem style suit with like different powers and everything. And you take down a horde, and then you run to a new area and take down a horde, and you do this like 4 times. Yeah. Then in the final area, you get thrown into, and it's like air base, an airship base, and you have to collect these little token things that drop periodically, and you have to get up to 100. When the enemy team finally makes it to there, then it becomes a PvPvE. So it's like you're fighting each other along with just random raptors that are dropping in. Mm-hmm. And if you defeat an enemy, you get to take their tokens, however many that person was holding. And the whole pretty much idea is that you work together to try and get to 100 tokens. It seemed fun. I would like to see, like, I guess a variation of maps, because like the map that they were in, it felt like it was just kind of doing the same thing over and over until you got to the airbase. Which, I mean, could be the point. Like, it just looks like simple fun and everything. It's just, I don't like what it looks like. It looked like I would play this, like, for one day, and then I don't see why I would play it again the following week. I guess when I was looking at it. But that was just me. It's not my style of game. I'm not a PvP, like, type of person. For those who are PvP, this is probably up your alley. Looking at it. The suits look cool. Some of them seemed a little more overpowered than the other. It was like, why switch? In my head, like when I was looking at some of the abilities. And they didn't show off all of the suits. They want you, play the game.
I like the transformer morphing kind of thing that they were doing.
Yeah.
Like it looked pretty flashy. But other than that, dinosaurs coming through the portal was kind of goofy looking. It looked like it might have been kind of fun for like 1 or 2 plays. This looks like a game where, let's say, the PC was a console in Fairyland. Like, this looked like the perfect benchmark show off your graphics game, where it's like, if you got this version of a PC, this is how it looks. If you got a better PC, this is how it looks. And it like comes like free or something, and you get to show off your system, play it for a little bit, and that's it. Or you demo it.
This is their Astro's playroom.
Yeah, it looked like something like that. It don't look like something you would just play, unless you had a bunch of people. You got a bunch of snacks. You goofing around on Discord, and like, let's fire this up.
Seems like cool.
Yeah, that's how it looked to me.
It was. I mean, like, not to like just extra, I guess, trash it. Like it did look fun again if you could like really party up with like all your friends and everything, and it's like 3v3. But I don't know. Like I said, it looked like it's a game you play every once in a while, not something you go hardcore with.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs that they dropped was primarily raptors. And they all just kind of did say they just run and bite, and you have to just use your guns and special abilities to knock them away. And then
the T-Rex.
Every once in a while they drop
the T-Rex reminded me of Super Mario Odyssey in a way.
Yeah.
It's just that's how, because you take advantage of you take control of a T-Rex in like one of the levels with the little hat, and they kind of had like the blue thing that was like around his neck. It was kind of like stomping around the same way. Like it was kind of goofy. It just looked goofy. It looked like a fun. It looked like a game where, like, I hate to say this because I know people say this before with other systems. Like, I'll wait for this to go to Game Pass, or I'll wait for this to go to PlayStation Plus. This particular one, it just feels like it feels like an epic free game thing for me. It feels like it belongs there.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm waiting for myself to announce it like halfway point into the stream to be like, hey, this is free and you can play it, basically.
And again, it does look like it is fun, just not like this is the game we're going to be playing for like 8 months fun.
It's
like,
getting trashed a little bit by the internet, which I don't know if it's fair or unfair, because at the same time, Capcom is still releasing Heat. Like, they're still releasing... Like, while they released this, they still gave you Resident Evil 4 Remake. So I can't really be that mad. I can see if there's like, we got to push that one back a whole year, but here you go, and here's this. But it's like, no, you getting them both around the same time. It's like I can't be too mad.
Extra complicated. I don't know. So I'm trying to like, in my head, those like, I'm trying to compare it to World War Z, because they're both horde games, right? Which is hordes of enemies that you're taking down. And they both seem simple enough in premise. There's one shoot the zombies, the other one shoot the dinosaurs. And technically speaking, this one has more, because it also has the PvP part in there where you're fighting off against another team and racing and trying to get things done. I felt like, I guess because it was story driven for World War Z, and you had like specific objectives to do. It wasn't just shoot the zombies, and then right here shoot the zombies, and then right here shoot the zombies. It was go get this person, and you have to go shoot the zombies. Then go defend this base, and you had to shoot the zombies. Right? You got to like set up traps and things like that. And I feel like this one was that. I guess it was just shoot and run, which maybe it doesn't need to be more than that. But I don't know. It seemed okay, and nothing's wrong with okay. But I wonder what it start. Is it like $70?
Here, I don't think it would be 70. That would be bad for them. If, at the very least 60. Probably should be 40, but usually when they mark these games, they will mark it at 50 at the lowest. They don't go lower than 50, but they might.
Oh no, it's 60.
It's 60. Well,
it's 60
the
and
biggest
70
question
on Steam. On Steam, it's 60.
The biggest question though is, are you going to buy it? That's the big question for them. So you're saying no. I'm saying no
No.
too, but yeah. So that's I don't think I would need to go like I saw under the page. People was disliking it. They was leaving a lot of rude comments and stuff. I don't think I need to go that far. I just
Yeah.
simply wouldn't play
Also,
it.
PvP makes me think live service,
Yeah.
right? So you keep adding like, here's a new type of dinosaur you got to fight and things like that. And live service makes me think microtransactions. I don't like anything that you have to pay full price and buy microtransactions.
Yeah. The only thing that I really, really liked from it was their transformation into the suit, just the animation of it.
Yeah.
The part at the very, very end when the raptors grabbed one of them and it was biting them off, and then he kind of blew up, and then it blew up everything. But that looked cheap and it looked goofy. It looked very goofy. But just them doing their transformation into the suit looked kind of fine. It's really hard to do a mech game, period. That's why I'm very curious to see how the new Armor Core is going to be. That's probably going to be the main mech game going forward because it's coming from Software. But yeah, at full price it's a no for me. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not trashing it at all, but even I'm a huge Black Friday person, but I don't think that I would go out of my way to try to grab this during a Black Friday sale either.
Right.
And yeah, again, I'm not trying to trash it, but even when I do those Amazon buy two get one free or the Target one I just talked about, like if it was one of the options there, I probably wouldn't pick it there either. Like it's one of those kind of games. I don't have to trash it. It's just not for me, really. It almost has to be free. There's too many other options and stuff to play for myself at this point. So, but they do still have the hottest remake of the year, at least. I don't know if it'll be game of the year, but it will be in the category next to Tears, next to Spider-Man, next to Hogwarts, next to Dead Space, possibly Starfield or Redfall, and that is Resident Evil 4 Remake. They have that. It is hot. It is hot. So, whatever they don't make on this, they're going to make it on that other game, basically. And I wonder if that remix is going to get ported everywhere, too, just like the original. But, yeah, we can move on, I guess. And then the very last thing is The Last of Us.
We have something right before that.
What was that?
Multiversus. Multiversus beta. I didn't realize this entire time it was still a beta. Like I thought they'd been past that when they started releasing like season 2 and like new characters. Like it's weird to me to like you release new characters but still label it as a beta testing. And then now that they got these characters in there, people were playing it and people put money and bought stuff. And then they're like, all right, game's gone now. We're going to take it away. Like it's going away soon. And it'll come back sometime in 2024.
Yeah.
For a full release. They said people who put money into it, like they're not giving a refund, but when you get the full release of the game, their stuff will transfer over. Given, you're using the same account and all that other stuff. That's what they're saying.
I think so they're like trying to re-release it because the hype went away and they're trying to regenerate hype because it kind of died back out.
And they're trying to say that like they finally, and they're trying to say like they now learned like exactly what needs to go on there and like things like that. So I think so too. They ran out of
because I remember before they were just calling it free to play. I don't remember them calling it beta though.
Which it was all. So I remember when it first released, it was a beta. First release. Okay. I thought that was over when they released Black Adam. Or Rick and Morty was like the first one that they released. I thought that was when the beta was over. It's like, all right, guys, as soon as it said season 1, then I thought it was done with the beta. Like I knew when it first released, it was beta. And then it was like season 1. And I was like, oh, okay, the beta's done. No, I guess that was still beta. Season 2 was beta. And now they're shutting down.
We got betas in the seasons, I guess.
Right? And now it's going to come back. Next year it was always going to be free to play. So it's still going to be free to play. When it comes back next year, they already announced that it was a free-to-play game.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you're right. It's the building hype for it. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they took it off and now they get to take their time making new content, like really designing stuff to release over the next 2 years slowly, instead of having to have a new character every like 3 months. They can build them all now, and then they don't have to do work for the next 2 years and just release them every once in a while.
Because I think it's supposed to go away June 25th. And all they said was it was coming back in 2024, but they didn't give a release date.
Right.
And so they're taking it away, because that's kind of a long time. So they're going to try to... Somebody did a survey or something. Somebody spent some money on a survey where it was just like going back to the FOMO or phobia of like not being able to have something and they're going to use that. But here's the thing. Multiversus, the people behind it, what happens when it fades away the second time? Ooh. Then what? Then what you gonna do? Because it's gonna fade away the second time.
Yeah, that happens for every game where it's your whole premise. There's no story. It's just a fighter. That's it. It'll fade away again.
I got a nightmare for you, Multiversus. You do realize you're gonna bring this back when the Switch 2 comes back. You do realize that when the Switch 2 comes out, because that's 2024. What if they come out with another Smash Brothers as a launch game?
That's going to be the new competition. And the one's just going to get smoked.
Then what? Yes. Exactly. So they're going to bite themselves in the foot, basically. Or, did I say that? I didn't say that right. Shoot themselves in the foot.
Oh, it is shoot. It's not bite. I don't know. It sounded right.
Only Twitch streamers bite themselves in the foot on stream. But anyways, yes. And then we have the game that probably should go away until 2024 and come back, which is Last of Us Part 1 on the PC. This looked hilarious. I don't know what happened. It's another case of them not taking enough time to do a proper port, just trying to throw it on the PC. It looked bad in some areas. It was to the point where some of the screenshots, it looked like Joel was blackfacing almost. It was just like, I don't know what was happening with that. It's strange because this is still all built off of a game that was very old. Like, I've seen emulations of the older version, the PS3 version, on PC. So I don't know, but they'll fix it eventually, I'm sure.
My big issue, we talked about this before the show, is some of I think the phrase is elitism, that comes in with some of these comments. So it was mainly negative reviews, and people were complaining about the game crashing and the shader thing. Like when they first loaded it up, it was like all the install, and then it took an extra 2 hours to load in all of the shaders just for it to still crash, right? And things like that. The part that bothers me was when I saw for some of the comments, it was like, well, I saw all negative reviews, and I wanted to come on here and just say that I've had a positive experience. I have a 3090 Ti, and it's like, okay, good for you. Like, you're not the average player. Like when I saw it on there, it was just everybody saying it was bad.
Cyberpunk 2 initially.
And they're just like, well, and I feel like that's a much different if everyone's saying this game on PlayStation doesn't work, and I go, well, it's worked for me because as far as we know, we all have the same type of PlayStation, right? So it's like trying to tell everybody, hey, it's not broken for everybody if you still want to give it a try. However, just know that it's broken for a lot of people. Versus this is like saying, oh, I'm sorry it's broken for you, but if you're not poor, then it should be fine and enjoy it. Like, that's the way it comes off to me. Is like, that's... Like, you didn't, like, you know, if everyone's complaining that it's not working, because no one's saying it's a bad game. Literally every negative comment, it's like, I can't play it. Like, it's not working. So you didn't need to come in there and say, well, I want to give it a positive review because it is a great game. It's just, it's not working for some. And even then with the 3090 Ti, it's like, and it crashed on them once. And it was like, okay, like, we know it's a good game. No one's going to be like, oh, I heard that Last of Us game is not good. Like, no one's going to say that I heard it's not optimized. So it's like, it's weird that they felt the need to try and offset the negative reviews by saying because they wanted to still be labeled as a good game. It's like no one's questioning that. No one's questioning the game itself. People are questioning its performance. It is so weird. Which leads me to also always wonder, it's, you always hear PC Master Race. Most of my friends are all PC gamers. And it's just to always constantly hear, it was just like, the PC is the last one to get updates. The community is the one that has to update it. You have to switch this option, optimize this option, to do this option all the time. It costs more. You always got to keep updating to the highest graphics card, and still certain games are going to be like, sorry, like most things will run okay on your lower graphics card, but then you have to like, oh, not these ones and everything, where it's just like, oh, if I get a game for console, it's going, well, outside of the broken patches and everything like that, like in the end, it's going to work on the console. There's nothing, I don't have to buy this extra piece for the console. Whereas for like the PC, you always got to, it's like, I understand the freedom of you get to keep making it better without having to buy a new system. But if to make it better to keep up with the current system, I still have to pay $1,000 to get the system. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I used to tease a little bit because I was just like, the Series X is 500 period. But for that graphics card, for a lot of people, the graphics card itself is like $1,000 or more as an upgrade. And typically when you do the upgrades, you can't just upgrade in one spot. You gotta also upgrade in other areas to handle that. Like the RAM will be the next thing, because unlike Last of Us, I think Spider-Man, I think I had mentioned before we went on air, Spider-Man 2018, when that was ported over to PC, the recommended specs for the RAM I think was 32 gigs. So that's going to cut out like everybody's potato system, everybody cutting costs here and there system. That's going to cut them completely out. Like they would have to buy or play it on PS4 or PS5. They can't play it on the PC basically because they don't have that much RAM. And then, it's as long as you have your options. If this was the only way to play Last of Us Part 1, then that would be bad. It's better that this is just a remake of a remake of a remake. It's one of those. Like if it was a remaster of a remaster, whatever. Like if it was the first ever game, like let's say this was Wolverine, like that would have been way worse.
Terrible.
Way worse. And it was like a PC exclusive or something. Like way worse. But it seems strange because it slows me down a little bit when it comes to me wanting my beefier PC, because I still want to get one, but I'm almost finding an excuse every other month to like push it back a little bit, because it's already a little overwhelming trying to pick the parts, and then some of the parts are not there because of X, Y, and Z reason. But then on top of it, like when the games come around, they are optimized for PC last. I've seen some of those port reviews and stuff where people complain this is terrible, and it was like I've seen somewhere. I've seen some of those games where people were like praising the game. They're having a good old time, but they're playing it on console. And then you see the people who tried to play it on PC and they're just calling it the worst thing ever. And we're just looking like, what are you even talking about? What's wrong with it? It's like, well, the PC version is the one they didn't optimize. So whoever has the biggest platform, they're going to optimize for them first. And I think right now that's going to have to be PlayStation. Nintendo's stuff is always just for Nintendo, but ironically their stuff ends up on PC as well. But it's not official, so it's not really complaining you can do if you tried to pull something up and it's not working on Steam Deck or something, right? But when you officially paid for it, like that one, Last of Us, that is kind of bad. It's a little unacceptable when it comes to that particular game because of what we've always heard in the past. Naughty Dog is known for their quality and their detail and their this and their that. And how, say what you want about what happens to certain characters in this game or the second game and all of that, the story. or even a TV show. It's like,
It worked.
yeah, it worked.
Like that's the difference. It's just you
Yeah,
got
it
through it.
works.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, shame on them. It looks hilarious. I'm pretty sure by the time we get to like 1 month from now, I was going to say April, but we're in April. So 1 month from now, let's say Tears of the Kingdom comes out at the end of May. I think by that time they would have definitely had it at a polished state. Because their reputation is on the line and they got too much going on when it comes to the HBO show, because this is something that's supposed to make everybody from the HBO show side come and buy. Because initially they made a lot of money from people buying on the PS5. Like I think the sales like skyrocketed overnight. And so it's like the extra set of people would have been PC. And so they got to get this going simply because of what they got with HBO, because there's still probably a lot of lingering people who are still like, okay, I wanted to binge watch Last of Us, so I waited till the whole thing, gets released. And then now that they're finally finishing it, it's like, oh, I kind of want to play the game. And then it's like, well, here it is. And then it looks like that. And it's like, that's no good. So they're probably going to be really, really, really on it really quickly, because they kind of don't have a choice. It's possible that they might have like an all hands on deck type of thing and slow down their production on factions for a few weeks just to get this up and going, because they got to make sure that it is, working as soon as possible, because there's still people coming off of the show that's probably got money to spend. So yeah, I think it'll get back to where it needs to be sooner than later. But yeah, it looked hilarious. For a lot of people out there who is on the fence with PC gaming and you just want to save your money, you don't like the idea of needing to spend upwards of $1,000 or more just to play a video game, you might have made the right decision to just play on console, because almost everybody, it's not just Last of Us, everybody optimized for console first, despite the fact that they do development on PC. It's like they optimize for console first, from what I've been seeing. This has been a lot of different games. There are different channels that cover this and show you the specs in real time almost, and all of the frame rates, frame pacing. So yeah, if you bought like a Series S and somehow caught it for like $250, or maybe just bought it at $300, and then you bought a Switch Lite, like you bought the lowest priced systems, you probably are still going to have a good time because they're optimizing for you first. So yeah, that's all I got to say about it. You got anything else you want to say about this? Can we end this? Are we done?
Yeah, we can end this.
All right, great stream. Or what am I calling it? See, I've been watching Twitch too much. This ain't even a stream.
You do.
I've been watching Twitch way too much lately. While I've been doing all my like computer stuff, I will have it on the other screen. So it's not a stream. This is a great pre-record. It'll come out tomorrow, Sunday for you guys. Yeah, it's April Fool's Day. I don't got April Fool's jokes. By the time you hear this, it will be over. But yeah, have a great rest of your day.
WrestleMania weekend.
Oh yeah. So my co-host is going to tell you about how he booked the show and met the people behind the scenes next week, because we heard that he was famous at the beginning of the show. Remember that? So yes, acknowledge my co-host next week. And have a great rest of your day. For everybody else, the winter is definitely over. Yeah, winter. All right. Peace.